Greetings. Guten Tag, guten Morgen. Talafalava. This is Dr. Snow Brown speaking to you all, especially to my Blessed Snow Cane Club congregation, SEC1, SEC2, my Knights and Chiefs of the 150 Days War Program, and also everyone that's part of my CKCTV ministry, private water, private company on Facebook, and also all those that are doing their 6RA rules, part of my ministry, that's part of the program that's running at the moment. Anyway, a news flash. I couldn't sleep. That's correct. I've been woken out of bed and I've been nudged by the guardian angel Samamlava and the archangel Warren, but also Mr. Holy Spirit, my Lord, has woken me out of bed. Got me out of bed this morning. It's now after 2 here in New Zealand. First of all, let's get something. That's right. I hate to repeat myself, but this has got to be done. Today being the 23rd of the 24th of November, 2021. And let's get something clear. Let me make myself very clear. This announcement to all, to non-Christians, to especially those that are living here and residing in New Zealand. That's correct. Let me make myself very clear this morning. I know who I am. I am Dr. Snow Brown. And I own a kingdom, and it's called Crystal Kingdom. In this case, I own an intellectual property that is rare. And you all know now that it is rare. Unfortunately, for some of you, and this is probably because of the fact that boundaries, of course, boundaries seem to be a very, serious issue. Here, not only here in my local township of Upper Hutt, but in general, to do with the people of Crywater, the people of Aotearoa in New Zealand, and the people of, that's correct, in general, the Pākehā that are in this treaty partnership here in this country. Boundaries, I have discovered is a big issue, is a big problem for the people of Aotearoa, for the people of Aotearoa. That is correct. And that is also probably one of the problems, the reasons why I have suffered a lot, but especially when it comes to your people on the harmful level that are in criminal organizations, or in this case in criminal associations, especially the red one, the local red one, MNB, brackets, KKK. That's correct, boundaries. I have always respected other people's boundaries and other people's religious beliefs and other people's cultural beliefs. But because I've been dealt to the way that I've been dealt to in the last 25 years by the treaty people, the people, especially the two majority groups that's part of that treaty agreement, that is very racist and very prejudiced, so I've discovered. And you have not respected my boundaries at all. Not ever. And even now as I speak. See, I've had to be woken out of bed because you guys are still in the background and you're still applying your harmful, arbitrary dictatorships. That's correct. Despite so many warnings, you're totally ignorant, you're totally blatant ignorant, but dangerously harmful. So I'm going to lay it to you again, remind you again this morning. those conditions in my intellectual property, in my private company, my private monarch, stands. And that is because I know who I am. I'm a full royal, and I'm a noble. And I own a very valuable intellectual property that is a private property of mine. And you people have no say in the matter. Now, and I'm talking about the people of Crywater. I will not accept any ratbags, any punks, to be part of my kingdom, let alone to be knighted onto my round tables. And should I find the lucky king, lucky husband, that's correct, he will not rule, he will not be the head of my Crystal Kingdom Church TV or my intellectual property. That is a private intellectual property and a very, very sacred, special private company as well. He will not be the head. I will still retain my titles and all my blessings. That's correct. I will still be the ultimate ruler, representative, meaning I will have full rights to my intellectual property because, I belong in Crystal Kingdom. Did you know that? I own Crystal Kingdom. That's correct. You people who are just guests and visitors who come in, that's great, thinking that you've got a right to access it, except the way that you go about doing it, it has not been right at all. I'm saying that you are accessing my intellectual property illegally, arbitrarily, and also, you've done all sorts of things. That's correct, to harm this noble here. In fact, you've actually wrecked and damaged my intellectual property. You certainly have. That's correct. You see, you want to take responsibility, of course, and admit that you have done some wrongs. That's correct, for which you need to pay money for damages, compensation, and take responsibility, and also possibly go to jail for jailbird, which, Jesus Christ, I doubt it very much. That's correct. That's what I'm talking about, New Zealand. Yeah, you are so you let this noble down. You let me down terribly. Where you don't mind taking full advantage of me. But when it comes to taking responsibility and owning up to your wrongdoings and your evil crimes, secret crimes, you'll lie. That's correct. You rather cover it up and make excuses and use the excuse that because I was, my national origin, being in the islands is correct, or because I am indigenous, or because of some mental disorder that I have, which I don't. You're going to use that excuse. You're going to expect me to feel sorry for you and say, to forgive you. You're right. That ain't happening. That's correct. So what I'm saying is that don't cry. Don't cry. No. Don't you dare expect me to feel sorry for you and forgive and forget. No, that's not happening. And if I invoke the restraining order, that's my right. That's my right to protect not only my intellectual property, to protect myself, but also my immediate family. We are a royal family. I don't think any of you hasn't quite sunk into your brains that we're more important, I'm more important, that's correct, than any of you. You wanting to access, this noble for free all the time, where you think you can just come in and mosey in and sneak into my private spaces, whether it be my private flat, that's correct, or into my so-called Facebook, access it, unlawfully. You might connect into an outside network to my internet network. You know what? that's not right. That's not right at all. That is rude and arrogant. But that's also disgusting and unacceptable. And I can tell you right now that the royal family from Norway, any other royal family from Europe, that's correct, which might be Denmark or Norway, I don't think they would approve any of this criminal, arbitrary dictatorship that's been going on, that I have been subjected to. I actually think that, they probably insult, they probably find it really hilarious, but on some level they say, my God, we definitely understand. We know what you mean by a noble. We understand because we're a royal family. We understand where you're coming from. In New Zealand, man, they do not deserve you and your royal family. They certainly don't deserve you either. That's great. And you've got every right as well not to upload your logo or to remove your logo that's got Aotearoa New Zealand on it. You got every damn right to do so. Not if they're going to, to do all the evils to you. That's correct. And be so prejudiced and racist. Hey, I've got a right not to exclude the people of Aotearoa from my writings. I got every right to do so. In fact, I've got every right to say no to anyone that I don't think is fit to be part of my monarch. Not only that, to be part of my royal family. Because after all, my immediate royal family, they're not ratbags, we're not ratbags. And they are not punks either. In fact, they're very similar to what? To the royal family in Norway? To the royal family in Norway. In fact, we have more in common with the royal family in Norway than any of you. That's correct. I suddenly realized. And I'm talking from a noble's level, on a noble's level. So, I do not appreciate what you are doing, New Zealand. The arbitrary dictatorships through these harmful criminal, people that are in harmful criminal organizations. Especially the local one, especially the local red one that I've been preaching about. Now, as for the KKK, hey, I don't like you at all. I do not like you at all. That's correct. You white demon. In fact, I despise you for what you stand for and what you've been doing. And if it wasn't for your influence, that's correct, and in your arbitrary dictatorships, hey, these other ones, this red demon, that's correct, wouldn't be able to pull off a lot of the so-called despicable stunts and harmful protocols that I've been dealt to here at this local address. That's correct. So when is it going to stop the arbitrary dictatorships? Because I can tell you right now, you will never be part of my kingdom. Not your ratbags, not your scallywags, and not your children. That's correct. Here's what I suggest that you do. And I'm talking about KKK, MMB, or any other criminal association out there that are in New Zealand. You will need to go on your own Facebook. Now, you've got the persons the superiors that run your organization. That's great. Remember, you're a criminal organization. So I shouldn't even say anything, make any suggestions, because you guys don't matter to me. That's correct. But I will say this, and it's only for your children. That's correct. Besides, don't use your children. Don't even go there. Don't use your children as an excuse for you to think that you can gain access to my so-called kingdom. That's correct. Because you will not. The condition states clearly, you are not accepted. You are excluded. And you do not need to be among royals like my royal family. That's correct. Let alone inside my kingdom, as you pose a threat and a danger. And I already know that. And the only thing you're interested in is taking advantage. That's correct. And stealing other people's intellectual properties and advancing and empowering your so-called ratbags, outlaws, which I have no interest in, and my Lord doesn't have any interest either in it. But for your children, if you've got any brains, which you don't have any, or any manners, You'll go on your own blimmin' Facebook and create your own logo and create your own intellectual property and use your own. That's correct. You've got your own rules. That's great. Did you know that? Right. My so-called play, that ain't your intellectual property that some of you actually stole from me in 2006, who entered my address and actually stole it. That's great. Download off my computer, just like you've been stealing off my digital devices here at this local address in the last 8 years. Right. That play of mine, that ain't your intellectual property now. And those are not your ideas either. And the rules in my play, that have nothing to do with your organizations or your criminal nonsense. That's correct. Those rules belong to me, given to me by my Lord, specifically for my ministry and my church, my congregation, and those that are my private monarch. As for you, you have no right to read that's right. Don't buy the play. Don't even introduce it to your children. Thank you very much. Stay out of my kingdom. That's correct. I have nothing against you, Jordan, but unfortunately, hey, you're on the wrong fence. You're on the wrong side of the fence. That's correct. So I'm not likely to what? Don't expect me to be nice to you or your children because, as I said, you are not included and you're excluded. And for the safety of my immediate royal family, especially my nieces and nephews and my siblings, you are not to come near us. That's correct. And you're not to speak to us either in public. Right? Right. And if you've already harmed this noble in the last 25 years through your associates, then you are not to come near me. You are prohibited. In fact, you are forbidden from ever coming near to this noble, because I will not be touching any of your children. That's correct. And nor will I be, encouraging your children to come near me. That's correct. Maybe to Pope Francis, maybe to other members of the clergy, but not to this noble. Thank you. That's correct. That is what my Lord has actually advised me. On behalf of my Snowcan Club congregation, you guys, when that restraining order gets invoked, you are not to come near me. That includes any members of my congregation. That's correct. You are not to come near them. And you're not to speak to them. And you're not to apply your harmful protocols. Right. I hope I made myself very clear now. We are not from the same. You are not to come near people like myself. The government of New Zealand should have taught you people ages ago. Ratbags and outlaws, you guys belong among your own kind. That's correct. Now, maybe, Apostle Tamati, Brian Tamati has got the time. He's got the time for you guys, but not this one. I don't want any time wasters. You've already wasted a lot of my time, actually. Especially during my ministry in the last 5 years. You've already wasted it. That's right, done a lot of damage. So for that reason, I don't need you to dictate to my privileges in the background, and I don't need you to access either my Facebook or dictate to my Facebook unlawfully or illegally. And nor do I need you to go through as your associates. That's right, to harm anyone of my immediate family, let alone target me ever again. You don't need to go there. You don't own this property. That's correct. I am not married to anybody in New Zealand. I've never been in a relationship with anyone in New Zealand. I've had some guy that I can only presume it's another one of your associate that is sent a parcel here by mistake by the name of Shane Simmons. Now, I don't know any Shane Simmons. That's correct. Recently, a courier guy came in or dropped by with a parcel. It had no name on the outside. I had to open it because legally it's got my address on it. So legally I have a right to open the parcel. That's correct. The package to see but I knew right away it's not for me, it's somebody else's. It has to be an associate on behalf of this red demon. That's correct. Lord and behold, there's Shane Simmons is the name inside the parcel. And it looks like it was an internet 2 degrees internet network. That's correct. Modem. So I was annoyed. You know what? Why am I not surprised? What is this? What is this guy using my address, that's correct, to deliver his parcel? I'm not in a relationship. I don't even know any Shane Simmons. I don't even have anything to do with such a person. Who is this person? That's correct. M&B, or whoever you are, even KK, you better stop doing playing these sort of stupid, harmful protocols that I've got nothing to do with. Stop sending these nonsense. Stop using my address. Stop using my name either. God, I hope to God that you're not using my email address either. That's correct. To send stuff on it. Don't use my address. Don't use any of my official information. Whether it be my full names, that's correct. Or even my logo, or even my my titles like Dr. Snow Brown. Don't use any of it to promote any rubbish to do with your criminal organization or association. Don't even go there. And don't promote anything else either. Don't ever mention me either, because I've got nothing to do with your associations or your criminal organizations. And don't encourage your children to enter my kingdom either, or access it. That includes your teenagers as well. That's correct. If I put those conditions on the intellectual property, you're not to enter. It's not for you, and you're not welcome. That's correct. Right. Now you know why you people are excluded, why you are banned from my intellectual property. Because you not only steal, but you damage my stuff. That's correct. You also probably, I don't know what else you are doing out there, stalking and harassing me as well through other people. Shane Simmons, I don't know you. I had to ring up 2 degrees, that's correct, to tell them to please terminate your services and don't use my address, that's correct. Or to ring you up, because I have no idea who you are. To what? To correct your address? To get your correct address, but delete my address. Do not use my address, that's correct. I got nothing to do with you, buddy. I don't know you. So the last thing I need is some MMB or some asshole using my address. That's correct. To access with telecommunication service or internet services via a 2 degrees company or another company, please don't do these kind of nonsense, kind of stalkings and harassing. I do not go using your personal information, which might be your full names or your address, or an ID to access anything from some company or any other companies out there? No, I don't. Mr. Willow, police officer. Mr. Willow, I've never been married to you, have I? And I'm talking about Anthony Shaw, the lawyer. No, you're not my husband. And I've never been in a relationship with you. Now, as for the police officer that violated me, which is another typical harmful protocol, 24th of June, and is subjected me to tortures. That's correct. That appears to be all coming from that organization. Right, you're not my husband. I have never spoken to you in person, other than, the process, of course. I remember what you look like, the 2 officers that processed me via that's right, the lockup that evening on the 24th of June. I do remember what you look like. And I wouldn't be surprised if they check the cameras here at my address and find that there goes the same officer. They process you on that evening that actually is the culprit that also violated you. How nice. That has also been dictating you and telling everybody else out there to dictate your privileges because you apparently, well, I don't know, you could be his property or chattel by by way of criminal offense, that's correct, or by way of violation that I never consented to while I was asleep. How disgusting is that? New Zealand, wake up, eh? Stop letting these criminals do this kind of thing to this noble. The royal families in Norway would not put up with these kind of atrocities. Do you know what they give out to people like that who are criminals and ratbags and punks? The death penalty. They would have ordered, say, probably each royal family would have a firing squad of some sort, or some sort of armed forces, that's correct. And they would be ordered out to go and kill those people, that's correct, that committed these heinous crimes in secret. But the fact that you actually allowed these people, that's correct, to do this kind of thing, hey, KKK, I got nothing to do with you. I think if you have more to do with Mr. and Mrs. Yoke, now I'm talking about Heinz Treviranus, that's correct, and Atalanta Treviranus, if you've got more to do with them, hey, leave me out of it, leave me out of it. Leave my immediate family out of it. If you want to study, carry out some experiments, hey, don't use me. Don't you dare use me anymore. Go and use Mr. and Mrs. Yoke. That's correct. Or their children. Or go to Mr. and Mrs. Baker, my cousin's so-called parents and their side of the family, because they've got more connections. They've got more connections with you guys than I ever did. You better stop experimenting. Stop targeting me for your experiments, for your stupid experiments, or whatever it is that you're aiming at. That's great. And like I said, you will never own any of my intellectual properties or any of my ideas. That's correct. That goes for that lawyer, the police officer, and even your superiors. Dream on, guys, dream on. I own the whole lot. It's all my ideas. But what you're doing is stealing and then try and go and apply it for your advancement to promote your criminal activities and your organizations. Don't do that, please. That's just desperado. But they ain't gonna get you people very far, because a lot of you you'll be put to death. Do you know who will be coming to put you to death? It'll be none other than the Nazi soldiers. That's correct. Because I saw it in my premonition. And you know why the Nazi soldiers will come and deal to you guys? Because, well, considering your level, that's correct, that you're at, they would be the right one to take you out. That's correct. And I will have every right to give you the death penalty. If you have committed heinous treasons against this noble, that's correct. And if the government of New Zealand is conspiring with you to do what you did, right, what do you suppose would happen? If I'm the king of the Germans, that's correct. If my last name is German and I'm Dr. Snow Brown, then I must be the king of the Germans. That's correct. And if I'm Chief Ijibam of Dead Bull Village, then I could only be the king of the Germans and the king of Scotland and the king of Samoa. Except the Nazi soldiers have got a right to come and take you out now. And I can order them, and I could order them. Because it's my right to do so as a German, as a full royal, but as a German, that's a great citizen. Got every right to do that. If you've committed heinous crimes for which the government of New Zealand is covering up, and won't put you to jailbird because they're racist. Hey, and this issue about the treaty document, I don't give a damn about your treaty. Because as far as I'm concerned, you guys are under Queen Elizabeth II, sovereign head. That's correct. So the Māori king is not the sovereign head of this country. So you are under the sovereignty and the rulership and the governorship of Queen Elizabeth II. So your language, I don't consider, so the language that you should be speaking is English. That's correct. So whichever sovereign head, whatever language that the sovereign head of your country or any country speaks, that is the language that you should be speaking predominantly. As for your indigenous language, the Māori language, right, that is the language you should be speaking at home. That's correct. Just like how everybody else is speaking their own mother tongue and their own language at home. That's correct. So that's why, because I have a sovereign head, who is Queen Snow Brown, I understand what I'm talking about. It's because I know who I am. And that's why I preach in the manner that I do. And if I say that predominantly the language that I'm speaking, that I use a lot in my ministry now, is English, that's correct. And that's because Queen Snow Brown is a Pākehā, that's correct. German, Scottish, but German. So therefore, the language that I am going to speak respectfully is English in this country. And that's because, well, naturally, Queen Elizabeth, your sovereign head is English Pākehā. Now, as for the Māori language, hey, all I see is that you guys, I don't need to give you any respect or any recognition of any sort, because you are just like any other citizens. And that is exactly how I see you guys. Like every other citizen in this country. But respectfully, yes, you have a sovereign head, except he is not the sovereign head of this country. And for that reason, as for my sovereign head, well, my sovereign head is above your sovereign head. Because my sovereign head has got full sovereignty. And full independence, that's correct. So you will never understand what I'm preaching about until you walk in my shoes, And until then, you need to respect my boundaries, but you need to respect my conditions in my church to be. You need to roll with it. Because if you don't, well then you need to move on. And I need to move on as well. But I already have. But you guys need to leave me alone. Right? You have a nice morning. And for the rest of you, right, take care. In the name of the Father, of the Son, and of the Holy Spirit. Amen.